That's basically the main point of people like Dave Weiss pointing this out, is that we don't have to prove everything. You have to prove the curvature. It's up to them saying it's a ball. You know, the people say, like, prove to me it's flat. It's like, go walk outside. It looks flat. It's like, they don't see any evidence of it being flat, but you're like, every day we wake up and we see evidence that it's motionless and flat. So it's up to them to show that the curvature actually works. And then they say, hey, what about when the boat goes over the horizon? The boat comes back when you use a high-powered telescope or camera. What's going on, y'all? This podcast is brought to you by Modern Roots Life. Modern Roots Life is a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's bringing real health back to its roots. They offer powerful, all-natural health supplements such as beef liver, cod liver oil, beef tallow, magnesium, and mineral-rich salts, all sourced the way God intended. Clean, simple, and from the earth. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, restore mineral balance, or just fuel your family with real nourishment, Modern Roots Life has got you covered. Guys, in this community, we're trying to get healthy in our mind, in our body, and our spirit. So don't neglect your health. If you want more information, check out modernrootslife.com and check the link in my description. You know, people often ask me how they can support me. Well, I think it's pretty cool if you can support me by supporting the people who support me, and you get something in return. And being healthy is a pretty good return. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to JT's Mixtape. This is episode number 83. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please give me a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
Come closer, my child.
Well, family, we're all back today. Once again, I'm your host, JT, and I have with me Demon Erasers. Brian, what's going on, Brian?
Oh, just trying to be converted into flat Earth.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We'll get to that. And we have Aaron to Nyhart. What's going on, Aaron?
What's up, y'all? Happy to be here.
Yeah, so we had not a debate, a conversation between Flat Earth Dave Weiss, and our good friend Brian. And yeah, it was quite controversial, so I hear.
Bro, people got real angry at me. They got real angry because I didn't accept the flat agenda, But I mean, like, I accepted all kinds of things, but not fully gone flat. And I don't know. It's just people didn't like it. They didn't like it.
Well, we'll get to that. We're not going to spend too much time talking about that. We'll talk about that later. I've got a video that maybe might convert Brian. Maybe we can do it. We can build on the work that Dave Weiss has done, and we can get it. I mean, me and Aaron have been working on Brian for pretty wild. I mean, a long time. I mean, I've been working on Brian for quite a while.
Hey, I've gotten to a point where I'm now like, hey, look, maybe we're in a simulation, and I'm at the point where it's like, it could be some kind of repeating simulation so that it's like perceived as though it may be round, even though it's actually flat, but it's like generating as we perceive it. It's almost like if a tree falls in the wood and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, that's the point. That's the question. Does it? Well, we don't know that because of the double slit experiment. Because if you're not observing the way protons operate, they actually pass through things and operate erratically. So the double slit experiment shows that we don't know what's happening when we're not observing things. Have you heard about that? The double slit experiment?
Yeah, I have. It's funny. I actually just saw a video the other day about it was this guy was showing this kind of geometric pattern. And the guy was saying you learn a lot about a person if they see squares or circles. And I had to watch the video a couple of times to see the circles. And he says, if you see the squares, you come from a more industrialized country. And the people that are from like Ghana and places in Africa that don't have industry, they saw the circles. But then it was kind of getting in later about how like what's the color red? I mean, we all perceive what like the idea that we have of red, but like, what if you couldn't tell the difference between the red that I see versus the red that somebody else sees?
I think about that all the time.
You know what I'm saying? Remember there was that, gosh, it was probably, gosh, it's been like 6 or 7 years ago that they were showing like a dress and it was either, it looked brown to certain people and then it looked blue to other people.
It was white and gold or black and
Yeah, it
blue.
was something like that. But it's really weird because I guess you never really think about like your perception of something and everyone identifies it as a this color or this name, but we don't really actually know that we're seeing the same color because like how would we know?
Like you could think like the skin tone on our hands and everything is like tan. We would call it like tan or white or whatever. But like to someone else's perception, what they actually are seeing could be like something like green and what we would call green, right? But they've just seen it their whole life. So they think it's normal. Like,
No, I think about that stuff all the time because, you know, I've said many times we can only see 0.5% of the visible light spectrum. So like there's colors that exist that we can't even perceive. We can't even put them into words. We couldn't even describe them. So yeah, I mean, and colorblind people exist too.
Well, right. It's like the idea that one person's idea of something that's aesthetically beautiful versus another person's. Like, why is it so drastic when it comes to certain things? Like music, for instance, would be like why is certain music really great to certain people and other people it's like nails on a chalkboard awful?
oh man, I feel that.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like it is. And that's the funny thing. We showed that video with William Riker from Star Trek, you know, the first mate on the Enterprise. And he was talking about like our perception of things versus reality and where the two might meet and where there could be conflicts. And I think that's an important issue. And we'll get to the flat earth stuff. But before we do that, we had an update from last week. I think we actually have 2 updates from last week. The one that really tripped me out was the guy with the mask, or we think a guy was wearing a mask on Fox News, and there's an update. So let's watch this video. This is I'm gonna have something to say about this.
So remember this guy, the Admiral, who went on Fox News, and the whole world was convinced this guy was wearing a mask. I mean, just look at it. You could literally stick your finger through that gap. But Fox News didn't say anything. This guy didn't say anything. But someone finally had him on his show, and they asked him, can you just pull your face a little bit for us? What was going on in that interview? And just listen to what he says.
Admiral, I wanted to bring up this before we even talk about Iran. Everybody, I mean, you broke the internet known as Mask Man. Can you pull on your face or something for me, sir? What was going on there?
Grant, it's just a distraction from the important subject we want to talk about, Iran. And at a time like now, we need to be focused on that problem with the president. He's got a challenge on his hand. Got a
Admiral, hold on a second. You realize if you answer like that, this is going to send the internet into the stratosphere if you don't tell me what was going on. And you know I love you, and I know you're an American hero, and I don't think you were wearing a mask. But just tell me something so I can let the internet be happy, and then we can move on here.
Grant, the internet's not my problem, okay? I'm here to talk about Iran. The internet's going to do what the internet wants to do, and I'll let it be at that. But let's not lose track of what's important here, where we are with Iran.
Hold on, real quick. Can you just give me a tug and then I'll move on? Just
Grant,
one little tug.
No, you're not going to get anything out of me. I'm not going to justify any of that.
All right. Just so everyone out there knows, I tried unlike Fox News, they didn't ask you about it, which was crazy. I think there's like 60 million, 80 million views on this thing. But I'll let you off the hook, Admiral, because you are an American hero. You really are, sir. And I'm having a little fun with you. And I apologize if I put you in a bad spot. But
I mean, what do you think, Brian?
Dude, I think it's hilarious because like the thing is, first off, he looks a little bit different than he did in the Fox interview.
Totally. That's what I was going to say. I was like,
it looks a little bit more realistic.
The same guy? I don't think it doesn't look like the same guy.
He looks a little bit more realistic in this one. And secondarily, like what I think is interesting is either they could have said, okay, the mask thing didn't work, so let's switch to AI. Let's go to AI now. Yeah, bro, he looks a little bit different.
Well, I
And
don't think it's always because they're like not with us anymore. I think sometimes they do that kind of crap because of logistics. I think sometimes they can't get them on camera, they're not available or whatever the case is, so they think that they can pull it off doing something like that.
The
so
angle's different too, so that angle's panned.
That's not the same dude though.
I don't think it's the same dude. I think it's a different dude.
It does look more. He looks more real there. And here's the other thing.
He's all greased up on that one right there, dude.
Yeah.
He's all red too. This looks like this was not too much longer after this, right?
Well, yeah, right after. And so the thing is, they did it right afterwards, and you're like thinking, like, okay, why didn't he pull on his skin? And this is why. There's actually a psychological reason for why. Even if let's say the first one was a mask guy and that's the real guy. Okay, let's say that that's what's going on. Or the second guy's AI. Okay, he's just an AI person. The very fact that he wouldn't do that is putting a psychological message out to the world to say, do not question what you see. Because if he was a normal human being, he would have just gone, okay, here you go. Look, here's my skin. Here's my face. But if he's AI, he couldn't put his hands in front of his face because it will glitch. There's a potential glitch, right? So like, he didn't do that. Just that was a psychological operation done to the people. So that way people get accustomed to saying, I'm not going to do that. That's below me. I would never have to prove to you this. That's below me.
It would set a precedent. It would set a precedent that they could just ask people if they feel like they're not real at any point in time to grab their face.
Yes.
And so that was his way of being like, that's never going to happen. We're not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. We're not starting that trend so we can continue to manipulate you. That's what they did. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, because the irony is that I believe that the guy who was being interviewed in the updated version probably was the real guy. And if he'd have tugged at his skin, there would have been no issues. But that's the thing. It's like, that's not helpful. Even if he'd have done that, that would not have done anything for me, because it would have been like the Fox News people should have said, tug on your neck, reveal like who you are, like Scooby-Doo, and they'd pull off the mask and it would be, Bill Gates or somebody under there. But it wasn't. But yeah, like the guy in that recent interview on Newsmax or whatever that was, that looked like a regular guy. That looked like a real person.
Yeah, very sus.
Very suspicious. I did play this. I remember I played it on Brian's podcast. Is that there was this video where it was like a Zoom call. Remember? It was like a Zoom call, and the guy was, the person was not trusting that this was actually the real person.
Yeah.
And he was telling him, wave your hand in front of your face.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've shown that. I want to say that there was a kind of a famous Britney Spears video that was going viral where she was doing like this, like putting her hands over her face. And you could kind of see as she flipped it up, it's like, the AI generated face was showing that there was problems. So this guy he wouldn't do it because yes, he had an AI face over his face.
It's like a tiny little Filipino man.
I mean, but yeah, very clearly. I mean, I wouldn't say very clearly, but I would say that from my eyes, that wasn't the same guy.
No, it didn't.
I'm telling you right now, that mother is not real. The Fox News one, that was, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, that's the real question, is like, what is going on with the neck? But as we said last week, it was so obvious that there was an issue with whatever that visual was, that it does seem like they wanted us to see it. And maybe that's the situation too that Brian was alluding to, is that they don't want us really ever to believe what's real and what's not real.
Well, they don't.
Even though it's very obvious now that through AI, and some of these AI videos now are unbelievably real looking, and we would never really be able to tell the difference. Like if we didn't know.
They just
most of them are obviously satirical, they're farcical videos, and they're supposed to be funny, so we know, but you're like, dang, that really looks like that person. That really looks, I mean, so if they can do that, and like the guys like us who, when we make videos, like how quickly you can make one of those videos now. Now, with the technology that they have and the people they got working around the clock to get something that they could generate accurately, man, it's pretty spooky.
No, the line has officially been blurred. Like there is, I don't know if it was Star Wars, but there are people out there. I mean, with $50 and a week worth of time to waste, you can make something that looks like an actual motion picture movie from any genre, with any actors, with any.
Well, there
with
was
any
an
line.
AI
It's
movie
insane.
that they put out. Somebody made an AI movie. There was like a thing they did, and it was like it looked really amazing.
Yeah, no, it's like, so the fans are like filling in the gaps for all of the stuff that they wish were made the way they wanted it to be made
Yeah,
all these years. And so they're going in and making, especially like the Star Wars community, they're really latching onto that.
Because the movies are so terrible.
Dude, the movies are so terrible these days.
Yeah, actually, like, let me show you this real quick. This is what I was talking about. So I'll just show you part of this video. It's interesting.
How do I know you're not some AI thing, though? How would I be able to tell?
Here, man. Here.
Oh, is that? Sorry, can you hold that up?
It's not AI.
Can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's
That's
like
our director.
Oh, I see. I thought it would be your name.
No. That's our director. We have a multiple. You see all of them here.
Oh, I see.
So, Ronnie.
But you know, is there
What's
not
going
some
on?
way of telling whether you're real or not? Can you like hold up 3 fingers in front of your face or anything?
Oh, come on. That's too much.
Oh, you don't want to do that
Well, I'll do that here.
in front of your face?
What do you mean? I mean, that's too much. Come on, Ronnie.
Why would it affect the AI if it was in front of your face?
Well, not at all. But
Can you
I don't
do
know.
that
It's
then?
too much to ask somebody.
Well,
I'm just
make
doing
sure
it.
you're not AI. Is that unreasonable? I mean, can you do that in front of your face?
Well, I think that that's too much to ask somebody. Don't you think that?
No, I don't think it is. If I'm making sure you're not AI, I think that's a reasonable thing to ask. Can you hold up 3 fingers in front of your face?
Well, I think that, well, is that enough?
No, it's not in front of your face.
Well, that's too much, don't you think?
Yes, it is, because, you know, if you were real, you would put up 3 fingers in front of your face. Yes, I thought so.
All right, I'm gonna start having to ask people to put 3 fingers in front of their face.
See, that's what they wanted to avoid. Her conclusion. Her conclusion is that we got to ask people to put 3 fingers in front of your face. They don't want people to start saying, "Hey, that looks a little weird. Tug on your skin for us." Like, they don't want that to come to that conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that guy did have an AI face on him, and was it in the show Foundation? I'm sure this is not isolated to that show we've been watching, but you know, there's a couple scenes where the people are trying to escape, and yes, they have some kind of a device that masks what their face looks like, and so yeah, that's the thing they show you in the movies, but I mean, it's very clear that they could easily do that on a Zoom call. Remember the famous one? Wasn't it during the pandemic when everyone was doing Zoom calls and Zoom meetings, and the guy was a cat? Remember, he was like a kitten.
Yeah, dude, for court.
Yeah.
yeah. I do remember.
I'm not really a cat. And they're like, yeah, we know.
He had to explain.
He couldn't turn it off.
Oh my god,
It's an adorable cat, though. Okay, we have another update. So there was another video we premiered last week when we were showing that volcano that was going off, I think in the Philippines, and there was a green meteorite that fell, which is interesting. You know, it's a funny thing we didn't really even talk about when there's been these phenomenons. I forgot what the event was that supposedly one of these meteorites fell. Wasn't it in like Russia? And they said it was like the equivalent of like, I don't know, like how many tons of TNT that flattened like a forest. And it wasn't even like it wasn't that big. But whatever fell down next to that volcano, that looked pretty big. Right? Wouldn't that have
Yeah, I
created
mean,
like,
enough to
like some kind of neutron bomb or something that
Well,
went off?
But a light is very visible in the night sky. So, like, you could even see a candle in the night sky. So we can't really tell how big it was necessarily.
It'd have to be a big fat candle, man.
You can see You can see a lighter for something like 2 miles away, like something like that.
No,
Like
my
a
point
lighter.
is that it doesn't have to be that big. I guess that's what they were telling us, and that's why we see in the movies when they talk about like an asteroid hitting the Earth. It's even if it's not, as big as the size of Texas, it's still enough to wreak havoc on the environment if it ever hit, right? Like it would have caused a massive explosion, and then just like a volcano going off, it's like sediment and ash and pumice going up into the atmosphere and then creating an extinction level event or something.
I'll tell you what we don't expect to see happen after a beam like that shoots down from the sky. Keep looking at the same spot.
Oh,
That's AI.
No, dude, that's the original footage.
How did we not notice that before?
A lot of people did. Most people just stopped watching it after the beam because it takes a few seconds to come up. But that's, if you go look at the original stream, that's on it.
well, I think that the video we watched last week did not show the aftermath. I think maybe they stopped it.
Yeah, I think what happened is most people, because you have to wait, like it's like a solid 5 to 10 seconds after that it starts shooting up.
Most people are gonna wait. Like a lot of people are gonna wait.
Here's the deal, though. There's more videos of that than there are of just the thing shooting down.
So,
Interesting.
as we said last week, what if that was some kind of a spiritual phenomenon that came down from the heavens? I think that gives credence to that idea. Was that Megatron?
Nobody crashed in, and then he like subtly floated away. Was that like
floated away like a little fairy?
it's like coming. Oh, look!
No, but like I said before, that whatever that green thing came down. I mean, again, you're right that with the light around it, it's really hard to say how big it was. But I mean, the light burst around the thing was almost the same size as the cone of the volcano at the top. It was pretty big.
Suppose, yeah.
Well, and here I'll show it again. The width of the light of whatever that is that flies up is the same.
Well, there it is.
That was big.
You can see the line that it left.
Mm-hmm.
Show it again. Show it again. I don't know.
Pause it when when it's visible.
Right there. It's hard to see. That line doesn't. I mean, I don't know. All I know is you can see it like a lighter from a really far distance, apparently, supposedly.
I'm going to move my mouse back up to where the laser landed.
Look, a fairy. Oh, look. Fairies.
He was
Fairies.
a fairy.
It's just like subtly drifting. Is it going in a straight line or is it squabbling? It's going in a straight line.
It looks like it's going in the exact same path as what it came down as.
I don't know. That's so. You got to zoom in on that one because it's hard to tell if they just added that. I feel like somebody added that after the cool thing happened.
Okay, check this out. So this is what I was referring to. So this was the Tunguska event. The Tunguska event was a large explosion between 3 to 50 megaton TNT equivalent that occurred near, Podkamena, Tunguska River in, I hate these Russian names. Yenisei.
You gotta say it with an accent.
In Russia.
You're stuck still,
On
my
the morning
friend.
of the 30th of June, 1908, the explosion over the sparsely populated East Siberian taiga felled a large number of trees over an area of 2150 kilometers, like 830 square miles of forest. And eyewitness accounts suggest
830.
that up to 3 people may have died. The explosion attributed to a meteor air burst and the atmospheric explosion of the stony asteroid about 50 to 60 meters, like 250 feet wide.
That is very, very far, my friend, Tunguska. It is
But you know
very
what I'm
far.
saying? But
Mother
that's, so
Russia
they're
take
talking
up
about
many lands.
a meteor that's 200 feet wide, like flattened all these trees in like 830 square miles.
That is a lot of Mother Russia. They flatten. Yes, very much.
No, but that's I mean that's the thing. Like something comes down with that level of force. I mean, you would imagine even if something was only 10 feet wide, the impact it's gonna have.
Very
Like, it's
big
gonna
boom.
yeah, it's gonna shake some stuff, man. There's gonna
Yeah, all
be
we saw was like it looked like some kind of a little bit of a smoke came up, maybe a little bit,
it's
and then that little fairy that floated up
yeah,
afterwards.
it hit the ground and went.
So what the heck was that?
Obviously, it is alien. Obviously, my friend. Obviously.
We'll leave that in the folder of to yet to be determined. We're going to keep that up. Like we're going to keep that file open and we're going to continue to look.
I have something that's a transition.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
While
for
we're
it.
talking about weird sky stuff, weird anomaly,
weird
type
phenomenon in the heavens.
phenomenon.
You show me the scary, weird sky things. I will tell you, Russia is much scarier.
Check this out. So it's a blue moon right now. And for whatever reason, the reflections on my window are creating like 6 other moons. Reflections? Or bokeh, or whatever you want to call it. It's like lens flares. But usually with lens flares and reflections, if I move one direction, then the flare or the bokeh goes, the other way. Or keeps going, based on my movement. But this, they're orbiting. They're not like moving away from the lens like lens flares normally do. They're just like orbiting the center object or the main source, the reflection source. I've never seen that. And it just happens to be the blue moon right now. What do you guys think?
Isn't that freaking
Blue
weird?
moon.
You saw me standing alone. Standing alone.
We'll start it.
We're gonna have like a barbershop quartet over here. You know what? That's interesting. I want to say that did Dave Weiss bring this up? I think he did, talking about that what he believes is the sun and the moon, or maybe
Behind
even the
a
stars
sheet.
too. I'm not sure. That he believes there's a light source outside of the firmament that creates the light that's in here. Which I think that, like, seeing an image like that, it does kind of make you think about that, like what we perceive as the physical sun and physical moon, it could just be, the source could be outside of where we're at.
But then that
And
wouldn't be biblically cosmologically
that's why you have like the
correct.
waxing and waning moon. That's interesting that, like, what the heck is the moon?
That wouldn't be cosmologically correct, though, in JT, because it says that he placed the sun and the moon inside the firmament.
Yeah, but in the firmament, what does that even mean?
Yeah. Well, who knows? It could be.
Because,
that's why I don't.
Well, I think that's the
claim
thing
to know.
where when you do get into like biblical cosmology, the way things are written are a little bit confusing. It could just be the way that, things that are sort of lost in translation, because firmament can mean heaven, but then the way that firmament's often described is, what is it? The Hebrew word was rakia, which was like, people get the idea of like a solid dome.
Uh-huh.
So if you're thinking like, is it in whatever the dome is, or is it inside where we're at? The point is, he actually just says he put 2 great lights in the sky. So the light source could be outside the firmament, and the lights are in the firmament, inside the
'cause
heavens.
I think it says only that he set the stars in the firmament. But regardless, like, how thick is the firmament? Right? Because
We don't know.
Right. I think it's, there's a really good chance. I mean, it could be coming from outside pointing in, or it could be coming from like the North Pole somewhere in the very center, and it could be kind of shooting up and like reflecting, ricocheting off.
It is
Who knows?
interesting when you see a light source behind a glass that's perceiving it. So like that video, what you guys were watching right now, I can give an explanation for why it's doing that. So that man has dual pane windows. And so what's happening, and it's also at an angle. So he's looking at the moon at an angle like this, and he's dual pane windows. So what's happening is the light from the moon is coming through, hitting that first window, because he's also got some kind of like protector thing. Yeah, exactly. It's hitting some perfect window, and it's coming through, and then it's refracting on. We gotta show Tune Thy Heart's camera what he's doing right now. That's what we should show. And then
He's trying to distract Brian.
And then it's hitting the second pane window, which is causing a refraction that's hitting the first pane. And there's enough light because it's so bright that it's bouncing back and forth. And that's why when you moves like this, you're seeing those refractions shift from one to another. So that's just because he's looking through a dual pane window. That's why.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to say that there's actually a bunch of moons rotating around the real moon. But I guess that's the point, is like that if the firmament is some kind of crystal structure, kind of like when we showed that video last week about, again, William Riker showing that when he turned that thing that looked like a globe on its side and you could see it, you could see the lights, the studio lights were shining into that. And so it's like the light that we see might not necessarily be the source of the actual lights.
Yeah, the way they were functioning was just weird. And the fact that they were all different colors and they were all rotating, like it was weird. Like I wouldn't be able, like we couldn't recreate that if we tried with the moon through one of our windows. That was really strange.
You have to have dual pane windows. You could do that.
Well, check this out. Okay,
Brian.
Well, here's another phenomenon in the heavens that might not be so easily explained.
That's an easy explanation.
Okay, go ahead.
They're filming a Skittles commercial.
Yeah.
Taste the rainbow.
I was gonna say chemicals, bro. That's the repercussions of contrails, bro.
It did look like chemicals, though.
Yeah, chemtrails for sure.
Still pretty cool, though.
No, it's really
very
cool.
And we're definitely gonna have to swap that music out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say good chance of that.
You know what's funny is that's also could be essentially, that's like a supposedly weird phenomenon, but we ain't ever seen that in my life growing up. I've seen that video before and I was like, well, that's crazy. But like what could be is the water molecules are somehow raining onto something in the atmosphere enough to like create a, refraction of light. So it's like raining in the upper atmosphere, but not on the ground. And that would essentially kind of create some kind of illusion like that, supposedly. But I don't know, man. It's crazy looking.
Here's another one that's similar but different. Check this out. That looks like some firmament reflection.
Yeah, that's
could
crazy.
be. I've seen that around the moon at night, but not really around the sun. You ever seen the moon when it's super bright and it does that ring around it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I have.
But not like that.
The people are getting their videos today, aren't they?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna keep it fast and furious. I got another one. Another follow-up from last week about Christina Koch, the famous actress from the Mad Max franchise, of course, and also she's an actornaut on her side gig is being an actornaut. Check this out. This video was again, is it hypnotism or is this person just a bad liar?
It was an absolutely incredible human moment. We knew we were safe. We were in the capsule, completely relaxed. We were sharing some snacks, having some water. But when the humans opened that hatch,
what?
First to welcome us back to planet Earth.
Time out.
Some snacks, having some water. But when the humans opened that hatch,
Why'd you say that? Why did you say that? Hey, Space Lady, why did you say when the humans opened?
which we knew we had just come back to a planet because of what we just experienced, And for
Planet Earth. It's just Earth.
those faces to be ready to get us, we had trained for this moment.
Jeremy, absolutely. Welcome home, brother. There it is. Reed. What's up? Welcome home, brother. Thank you.
It was a complete emotional release of joy when they opened that door.
Did you say that? What did you say?
Space Lady, why did you say that? Why did you say when the humans opened up the capsule?
Dude, there are things that you just don't ever naturally say. Ever. Like, ever. And I thought about that. Like, that's similar to when Mark Zuckerberg said, and I was human. And it's like, dude, that's not something you accidentally say sitting around the Thanksgiving table with family. There was this one time I was at Disneyland when I was a human. And, I mean, I am human.
Of course
still.
I'm human, but yeah.
Yeah.
I was also once one too.
I'm one of you guys, right? Right? Yeah. It's just so weird, dude.
Well, you know what it sounds like to me, and this is what Brian would probably agree with me on this. This sounds like what a demon might say.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when I was actually human too.
Yeah, with a human.
When I still had a flesh suit, but now I don't. And so now I've been imprisoned in this cyborg named Mark. But yeah, like that's exactly correct, Aaron, is that I have never referred to as another person as a human that I interacted with. I remember the other day when I was hanging out with some humans. What?
You're never going to
Like
refer
you're putting
to
yourself
yourself
outside this box of the people you're talking about.
Yeah, you're never going to accidentally refer to yourself as anything other than human. You're never going to refer to yourself as having been a woman. You're never going to refer to yourself as having been a cat or a dog or a zebra. Like, it's not going to accidentally happen.
Some of my best friends are humans.
Dude, guys, this is a sign of hypnosis to me, guys. It's a pretty clear sign when you're disassociated from reality.
Do you think that they hypnotize her into believing that she was a blade of grass or something? Like, what does she mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like when you're under hypnosis.
You're a flower. You're a flower, and you're going.
No,
to the
you're a
moon.
space woman. You're a space woman, and the humans are on a different planet, and you are in outer space, and the people down there. It's like, bro, she's been told this kind of crap to where her brain is probably like disassociated from humanity and reality. Like she also has Bell's palsy. If y'all noticed, you notice how she was talking out of the side of her mouth. Like that woman, which happens from immense trauma. So if you notice how much she talks out of the side of her mouth, half of her face was paralyzed at one point.
And why does she look different in every video?
I don't know. She just different angles, I guess. But yeah, you're right. She does look drastically different.
She looked more normal back when she was human.
When she was human. But dude, that's the thing though. She's like her that's a response of somebody that's under hypnosis. That's a kind of hypnotic response.
Opened up the capsule. I just can't even
get over that.
She's
told to be disassociated from Earth where all the humans live. And so then she's like, I'm in space where away from all the humans. That woman has some trauma all over her face, bro. It's written all over her face.
Well, it's a situation where, okay, let's just get crazy and just act like this is a movie because she's a movie star. Okay, like you went up to the planet Vulcan and you were hanging out with Spock and the Vulcans.
Just another Thursday.
And now I'm back with the humans.
Yeah.
Right, like you might say that if you were interacting with beings that are aliens. Oh, it's finally great to hang around with humans again.
Or if you were under hypnosis and told that you're in outer space and you're separated from reality.
What if it's this, is that we're told by our government now that there's 4 different types of aliens.
Yeah.
Each one of the 4 astronauts was reptilian, a gray, a Nordic, and an insectoid.
The insectoids are coming.
And now I'm hanging out with humans again. It's kind of nice to do the interview circuit. But yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
What's crazy about that is like ex witches and like some ex witches have come out and made content talking about how like that's the way, like those 4 aliens that they described, the 4 different species, that's the way a lot of these demons presented themselves in the astral realm to them. Like they appeared looking like those 4 species of aliens when they would astral project and or they would do their seances or they would do different drugs or whatever. Like that's how they presented themselves to them. Was it specifically those 4, the insectoids, the Nords or the Nordic or whatever?
Yeah, Nordics.
And then,
like I said, the Nordics and the Palladians, they're like, they don't sound really discernibly different. It's the way they're described.
yeah, I don't know.
I've not talked to any witches in that experience, so I don't know.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
all right.
interesting.
I got one more NASA video, and if you guys, I'll kick it to you guys if you guys have something to share. I know. So Brian says he's got a fire video.
The moon base will not appear overnight. We will invest approximately $20 billion over the next 7 years and build it through dozens of missions, working together with commercial and international partners towards a deliberate and achievable plan. Just as there was Mercury and Gemini before Apollo, there will be an evolutionary path to building humanity's first permanent surface outpost beyond Earth. And we will take the world along with us as they follow along on the NASA Moonbase website and watch the assembly through lunar relay and observation satellites. At the same time, NASA will never give up its presence in low Earth orbit.
you're really testing the fruit of the spirit today, aren't you?
Imagine being so deceived that you believe like cosplay reality is reality, and you're just like, the moon base. We're gonna create it. It won't appear overnight, people. We need to create this moon base. Give us your millions. Like, it just like, I don't know, man. It just seems
Wait,
like such a joke.
see, I'm confused though, Brian. I thought that they already had a moon base, and then they had a bear problem. Remember?
Oh yeah,
and
there
there
was
the
The drug lord
intergalactic
bears.
Clan of wizards were
That-
also
yes.
causing problems on this moon base, as we
They were,
as we
they
learned from the
were.
Whitest Kid You Know.
But we weren't invading Iran at that time. Oh, but now we are. So I guess prophetically, he must be prophetic, bro. That's why they killed him.
The bears had machine guns too. No, I mean, but you just can't help but think that what kind of grift is this that they could convince anybody? Oh yeah, it's totally feasible. Let's just build a base on the moon. Yeah, like we couldn't use that money here. We could just build the base up there for what exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the way they have people deceived is so. There's so many levels to the deception. Like I remember when I first started to wake up and like I was a few layers deep, and I would see people posting about stuff, or I would hear people talking about stuff, and I would like argue with them, and I'd try to explain things to them. And then I got like a couple layers deeper, and then I saw people arguing about things like 4 layers ago about stuff that I learned, and I'm like, I'm not even gonna like, I don't even know how to approach that argument with them, because I would have to explain 5 different principles to them that I learned years ago. There's no way I can even have a conversation with that person. They're like 5 lies deep, and they're so lost. And so like, that's how I see anytime someone talks about the wonder and the awe of like these things, these images that we captured in space. And I'm just like, what?
You know, those are all fake images, right?
I'm just like, what?
Yeah, they
Like,
are
you're-
really pretty, but you know that they're not real pictures, right?
Dude, even
You know that,
AI.
right?
Have you seen the videos where like people are using AI to like whatever the tools they are that can prove whether or not an image is real or fake or whatever?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
They're all saying that the NASA images are fake. Like all of them. They're running them through these tests,
Next
and
thing
they're
you're
all
going to tell
saying that
me
they're
is
fake.
that the images of the satellite from outer space are fake too. Those ones look like that they're like 8-bit graphics from like a Nintendo.
Dude, straight out of the original NES.
You know that, but you kind of do wonder, like, who believes the moon-based narrative? It's got to only be the boomers. Like, there's nobody else who's going to believe it. And you can imagine how conflicted they are about $20 billion going to a moon base when we could send all that money to Israel. Like, why wouldn't we just send it to them? We should build an IDF base up on the moon too.
That's what's coming next, guys. That's what's coming next for sure.
It is absolutely insane. I remember there was a video or a news article came out. It's probably been 2 or 3 years now, but I think NASA was trying to give somebody a contract to clean up space debris. And you're like, what? Give me that gig.
Dude,
I'll do it.
So a mess before you saw it. You think it looks bad now. I cleaned up a lot of that stuff. Oh, where'd you put it all? I stored some of the scrap on the moon for the moon base that potentially we can reuse some of that stuff. The technology was still good from these old satellites. When we're told that, there's like, I mean, how many satellites are supposedly up there that could be banging back and forth against each other, going 17,000 miles an hour?
Well, there's tens of thousands of them now. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, there are, I mean, obviously, I don't know, dude, but there are images that show the timelines of like how many there have been in space over the years, and the amount of them that are in space now is insane, according to them, of course.
It's like I said, it's the perfect grift for people who believe in this stuff, is to say that we're totally taking care of all this stuff that you don't even know about. Like, don't worry, we're going to show you pictures of it. Don't worry that they kind of look a little bit fake, because they're supposed to look fake. And we're totally cleaning up outer space. Outer space has got a lot of pollution. We're cleaning that all up, all that trash. We're getting all that up. And we're also going to build a base on the moon. Well, let's just build one on Mars next, too. I mean, like, that's further away, so then it'll be harder to see. They'll tint the screen red, and then it'll be Mars. But it'll still be filmed in Algeria or Greenland or Nevada or something.
So, have you guys seen the movie Tomorrowland?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have.
A long time ago.
Okay, so I saw it a long time ago also. And for
was that the one where he goes in the tub and the bathtub and they like launch him?
That's one of the scenes. So honestly, go back and watch it. JT especially. I feel I'm going to go back and watch it. So I went back and watched it a couple nights ago, but I fell asleep. But I'm going to rewatch it. I was just really tired. I'm going to watch it again. There are so many little nuggets in that movie. It's absolutely insane. I won't give away everything. And this one actually is like, I mean, it's a Disney movie, so take it for what it's worth, but it's family friendly in the sense that like there's not a lot of cussing and violence and stuff like that, but there's a couple of scenes in that movie. They say a few things in that movie. The overarching premise, it's a little bit mind-blowing because they give away so many plot lines that are similar to what we're going through right now. But one of the things that blew my mind, this could be an explanation into why spaceships do what they do when they launch and then they just kind of like curve and then they like come back down. So there's another dimension where this like future world exists, and it exists here on Earth. It's just in another dimension that we can't see. But to get to the dimension, there's a number of different ways that they can get to the dimension, but all of those ways have been shut off and blocked and people can't access it anymore. So one of the ways that they use to get to it, first of all, they go to the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is actually like a launching point. Okay. And they launch up into space, which I could get behind the Eiffel Tower. They also say that the Eiffel Tower was an antenna. They said it was Nikola Tesla's best invention. It was an antenna, and it was used to receive all kinds of different frequencies.
It actually is an antenna, or they said later that they figured out that it worked as one.
Right. So they reveal a few little nuggets like that, but they end up launching up into like lower Earth orbit, right? They don't actually go into full-blown space. And then they detach from the thing that launched them. And then the capsule they're in comes straight back down to Earth. But the way that it comes back down to Earth, it spins and it does something. And as it comes back down into Earth, it sends them into a different dimension. And so they come back down, and like whatever technology they're using, which was evidently developed by like Tesla and Edison and like a handful of them that actually like evidently were supposedly like, there's a name, I think they're called like Super Ultra or something like that. But like it was like a small group, and was it Roosevelt, Tesla, Edison, and there was one other person, and they were like secretly friends, and they started this society or whatever. But as they come back down to Earth, it sends them into this other realm, which is Tomorrowland. But I was like, dude, that's fascinating. I've never seen anything before, any movie that explains why they go up and then come right back down. But there's a lot of little nuggets like that. You should check it out.
Brian, what did you say that there was a scene where somebody was launched from a bathtub?
That's all I remember about the movie because it was so long ago when I watched it. But I
Well-
just remember there's a part they go into a bathtub and then it's like it like launches them.
There's
That's
a
all
scene.
I remember.
There's a scene where he's trying to. They come for George Clooney, and like he's trying to get away from them, and he just has his home set up like as a defense system, and he gets in his bathtub and it launches him out of his house into a lake. That it's not. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all.
Well, I just thought it was interesting. I know that there's definitely the meme of the bathtub and all the celebrities doing photo shoots and music videos and scenes in movies where the bathtub becomes some kind of a portal to something. And I mentioned in that show Foundation, like she gets visions of the future, but she kind of has to drown. Kind of makes you think of like even like in 11 and Stranger Things that she goes into one of those giant tanks and she floats and then she meditates or whatever she does, and then that puts her into the upside down.
Yeah. Yeah, there's obviously some truth there in those different I actually so I had some of my biggest epiphanies when it came to my faith and my relationship with Jesus because of near-death experiences.
I thought you were going to say in a bathtub.
No, because of the things that I saw and the things that I experienced and the things that happened, like to the point where I would joke around with my buddies. I'd be like, "Hey, we should start a business where like we go around and obviously I'm joking and we would never actually do this, but I'm like, we should start a business kind of like Tyler Durden did in Fight Club and go around for like the people that pay us to like kidnapped loved ones and give them a near-death experience, even though they're completely safe the whole time."
Oh,
Like-
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when he takes out the Asian guy out of the convenience store.
Yeah, because dude, it does something. It activates something. It shifts things. It forces people to think outside of themselves. It forces them to think about the reality and like how they're living their life and the decisions that they're making. It really it changes everything.
But
if we
that's why
would
people do mushrooms. I think it does do that to them. I think it gives them like near-death experiences.
I don't
Well,
know, man.
speaking of that, Aaron, you
It's
had
not
an
always a
image-
good
you s-
trip.
You sent
Yeah.
me a picture of some kind of depiction of where was that? Somebody was picturing the Garden of Eden, but it didn't look like the tree like we are told it is.
Yeah, so this is
'Cause, well, that's the funny thing about the forbidden fruit. Like, what actually was the forbidden fruit?
Yeah,
Now,
this
obviously,
is-
it's depicted as an apple on almost everything, but the Bible doesn't say anything about being an apple. We don't really know what it was. So that's what people picture in their heads because we're shown an apple so much.
I don't remember what like cathedral or what building this was taken from, but this is a 13th century fresco of what a depiction of what the tree of knowledge of good and evil was.
That's wild. That actually makes a lot of sense, honestly.
It makes a lot of sense, and obviously you see the serpent just kind of. You got Eve over here holding the bush over herself.
It definitely checks some boxes because I want to say that that's like the theory, and I can't remember where Joe Rogan got it from. He was referencing an author who was all about psychedelics because Joe Rogan's all about psychedelics. And in this book, it says something about how, you have like the primates or you have like Neanderthal man and, all the Denisovans, whatever kind of primitive man. And then they took psychedelic mushrooms and this helped man evolve into what we are today.
Well, allegedly, the island of Patmos is riddled with mushrooms also.
Well, yeah, so I mean,
I'm not saying that's what
it
happened,
would
and
make
that's-
sense. I mean, I guess it's a thing. It's like we're told it's a tree. I mean, mushrooms aren't really fruit of a tree. They're kind of.
I mean, everything grew bigger back then, right? So I don't know. I mean, have you?
Well, I guess the truth is we don't really know what that kind of tree was, and it doesn't preclude the idea that there could be something. I guess the truth is it doesn't even have to be a physical mushroom. It doesn't even have to be an actual mushroom. If this tree did have some kind of psychedelic effect that helped break this kind of barrier between the reality that we perceive and then maybe gave Adam and Eve a window into a different kind of realm.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend anybody, especially if you're born again, ever messing with psychedelics.
No, I think the mushroom grows out of poop, and it grows from the realm of the dead. And I think when you consume it, it brings you into the realm of the dead in some regard, which I think in a turn gives you a near-death experience. You're just not realizing that's what it is, because it's actually like, I think it's poisoning you and killing you. It's bringing you into a death state. I think that's what that trip experience is like
Yeah.
basically you dying.
Mm-hmm. No, well, I mean, of course, it's interesting because I did have Seth Licklider on the podcast, and we were talking about that because we were talking about astral projection, and then eventually we started talking about DMT and the idea of like a DMT lockout. So these people smoke DMT. Other people go down to South America and they have those ayahuasca ceremonies, but it's all based on, I guess, that chemical DMT, that drug. And so what DMT lockout would be that these people would smoke DMT and it would get them out their frame. Like, you know what I mean? Like you'd have an outer body experience. But then people have this phenomenon called DMT lockout. And I don't know, like I said, I haven't researched this too much. This is what I heard was that sometimes these entities would kick these people out and they say, you're out of here. And like, bam, they were right back in their bodies. And then they were like back to reality. And then these people would try to smoke DMT later to get back in. And these people would talk about being locked out. Like they could not, they would still get high, but they wouldn't get that astral experience. So what Seth was saying was that the drugs are almost like it's access to this simulation that these entities are creating. So it's not necessarily even just the drugs because if it was just a chemical reaction with your brain, well, then how could you get locked out? Like, how is that possible? So there's something else. Maybe it is. It's the consent. And of course, he was talking about the idea that these entities in this astral plane want you to be an asset. And maybe if you're not giving them what they want, then they got no use for you. Because you think about it, like the demonic, they are not omnipotent. They can't be everywhere at once. They're a limited. There's a limited amount of them, so they don't got the time to mess with everybody. So maybe they do say, "You're wasting our time, so we're not even going to mess with you anymore." And then he was saying that eventually some of these guys, one of these guys, I forgot what band he said he was in, but this guy was basically prophesizing about this, and eventually they let him back in, and eventually he smoked DMT. Like after 20 other times. It was like years he couldn't get in, and then he did, and he finally got back in, and then he's writing books about it.
Interesting. I think what it is I think that the entities recognize your heart. They can see your heart actually pretty clearly, and if your heart becomes almost too inquisitive to the point where you start to discover truth of Jesus Christ and the answers, I think they like basically say, okay, we're not going to let you be a part of our party anymore, because they don't want you to start exposing things. They think that you're going to be someone that's going to expose stuff rather than work for them. They ain't going to let you in their reality. They're not going to want you in that space because you're going to end up telling truth, And so it's like all I know is dealing with demons and casting demons out. They know when someone's heart is going in the direction of good. I don't know how to describe it to you.
They start to lose access. That's why.
They know. They recognize that that person's going to be somebody that's going to turn to the Lord, and
Dude,
they know it.
I'm telling you, like, we have a frequency, and this is literally why my artist name is Tune Thy Heart. Because when you tune your heart to the things of the Lord, you change. Your actions change. Like the things you do change, the way you think changes, the way you love, the way you show up for people changes. And that literally changes your frequency. And so like you resonate at a different frequency and they don't have access to that frequency. It like repels them instead of attracts them. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying.
It's actually the same kind of phenomenon that happens with weed, actually. And a lot of people that smoke weed, after I talk to them about the Lord, they try to smoke weed and it will give them immediate anxiety. And so like they can't smoke weed. And it's comical actually, because it's like once your spirit realizes the truth, like weed smoking becomes an anxious thing. Whereas some people can smoke weed
that's my
and they don't have a
experience with
problem. Yeah, well, that's because your heart was already tuned towards the spirit of truth, right? So your
Yeah.
heart was already in that direction towards going revelation understanding. And so if you try to smoke weed when you're spiritually aware of the Lord, it will be terrible for you. Be a terrible time.
Yeah, because your frequencies don't match anymore. Like you're up here and it's a low vibrating thing, and so like it tries to pull you down, and there's that rub because like it's not going to pull you down anymore. Now, I still think, I want to be clear, I still think that THC and CBD and CBG, I think that there are very real medicinal purposes for people that need it. But I think that like also the Holy Spirit knows who's using it because they literally need it medicinally, and who's using it because they just want to get high. And I think that the
Well, I mean, it's
experience
the
you
same
have is
thing with
based on that.
it's the same thing with, you know, the Bible saying you can have like a little bit of wine versus somebody who's gonna using it to get drunk. And I think there's something there. But I do think it's interesting, and I'm sure I brought this up before on this podcast. It is a weird phenomenon with marijuana that in a lot of cases, I know this is not every case, but for me in particular, I remember when I first was starting to experiment with the devil's lettuce, and they said, a lot of my friends said, you're not going to get high the first time you smoke it. I'm like, why not? It
'Cause
took
it's an
like 3 or 4
evocation.
times.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
an
I
evocation.
said I'm gonna make sure I do, and I did.
Yeah, I
the
know,
first time.
but I guess the point is it's weird that if it is just a chemical response, like why wouldn't it work for everybody the very first time in all situations?
It's actually the same with most drugs. The first time you do the drug, it doesn't do anything because it's an evocation. It requires your body to take the drug to invite the entity to carry you to that realm of reality or perspective. So the first initiation is evocation. And in fact, it goes back to even what's his name? The dude that Charles Manson hypnotizes people. And I played that video for you once before where he taught what's his name? Danny Trejo was in prison with Charles Manson. And he was explaining how Charles Manson would just hypnotize them to be high all the time. And he was like, yeah, he would just hypnotize us and our eyes would turn red, we'd throw up. And it was like, he'd just make us high on weed and heroin all day without ever touching weed or heroin. And Danny Trejo was like, well, what about that guy? Because one of the guys he would do it to, it wouldn't work. And then Charles Manson's response was, oh, well, he's never done the drug. He's never done heroin, so I can't hypnotize him to be high on heroin.
The pathways weren't there.
Yeah, he said the way his mind works isn't going to know how to respond, is what he said. But the reality is the demon was not evoked. He didn't evoke the spirit. So the spirit wasn't there, didn't have authority over him because he didn't make the offering to the entity. And so that's the reality of what the situation is. But from a outside perspective, you'd be like, oh no, it was just because he didn't understand it. That's why.
But
No,
where do you draw
that's-
the line on that? Because like I mean, it's obviously a plant. It's a green plant. Genesis has a lot to say about the green plants of the world and of the earth. It comes from a seed. And for the people that are taking it for legitimate purposes, like people that have bone marrow cancer or people that have like osteoporosis, or they've got like legitimate reasons to be taking it, like to tell them that they're invoking a demon because they're using that, I don't believe that. I don't agree with that.
So I would say the difference is that one thing is that I think the Lord made the plants to eat. And I think there's a difference if you were to eat the weed.
I do agree with that.
That's where I kind of draw the line in my personal perspective is that if you were to eat it, it's a different response.
Burning it with a flame is different. 100%.
I think burning it, I think smoking it, I think is something that I think is an evocation process, and that's just my personal opinion of dealing with this kind of thing. So I think you could eat weed. I think I think it's different.
Isn't it? I mean, I don't know how true this is today, but I know in a lot of cases, what people are smoking now is not natural. It's completely manipulated.
Yeah, unless you're growing it yourself, you cannot trust what you're buying from these dispensaries because they're all owned by big pharma and big tobacco now. All of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, even like lots of fruits that we get at the grocery store, like they don't have seeds. Like it's not normal that these fruits don't have seeds, but they're like GMO, fruits. So I mean, of course, the drugs that you're smoking are definitely not natural. And that's what a lot of people say now is that I forgot what the other chemical compound that was in like cannabis. There was one that kind of is the one that gives you like the mellow feeling, but then it's the THC is the one that makes you feel real high. And so when
indica,
when these these chemicals are out of balance, which they are now. Like the THC is like super strong, and that's what gets people like super paranoid, because like the other part that would probably mellow them out
The
has been
CBD.
removed, and this has been accentuated.
Yeah, no, they definitely have over exaggerated the THC levels. There's also something called CBG, which does a lot for people neurologically. There's a lot to it, and I feel like
Yeah.
you got to understand it, and you got to understand how it works and what you're doing and why you're doing it. I still think that, you know, if you're doing it just to get high and to change your state of mind, that's not why we have it. That's not why he gave it to us. And that's been my argument with people for a long time, because, you know, believe it or not, there are a lot of believers that struggle with this, because
Well, yeah, there's tons of them.
there's a ton of them, and my heart goes out to them, because I was one of those people for a while. Because I'll be honest, like for me, it did serve a purpose for a very long time, because I didn't want to take amphetamines that the doctors prescribed me for ADHD and a number of other neurological things. I didn't want to take any of the stuff that they were giving us. I mean, you're arguably better off ingesting THC, CBD, CBG than you are even taking Tylenol, right? Like, we can't trust any of the medicines that are being compounded for us or made for us anymore, to a certain extent. So like, it's arguably better than a lot of those things. But yeah, it served a purpose for me for quite some time, until it didn't. Until
Yeah,
it started.
well, I think that, yeah, when you're talking about somebody who's literally using it as medicine, that might be different than what most people are using it for now,
I
for
agree with that.
recreation purposes. So I think that, just like anything, like I definitely don't judge anybody who had massive pain, or they just had surgery and they just got, they got codeine afterwards. Now, if they're taking codeine when they're not sick or they're not hurting, I mean, yeah, that's obviously, we
That's
know
a heart
that's,
issue.
That's a totally different circumstance. But I do think for us as Christians, there's a lot of places you could go to get comfort for mental issues or physical issues, when you should be going to God first. And
Amen, yeah.
if you use those things as a crutch, well, then that's not taking, like I said, you're ultimately just treating symptoms when you're actually not going to the source of what's wrong, and God obviously can heal everything. So let's move on. I want to show this video, and then maybe I can show Brian's video, but because again, we did tease that Brian had Flat Earth Dave on his show, and again, maybe this will get you closer, Brian, but I'm not sure. Check this out.
Hello, everyone. I have another awesome flat Earth laser test to share with you today. This test comes again from Lee and Simon and Dave of the Kootenai Flat Earth Researchers. They don't have a YouTube channel, but Lee has already shared several laser tests with us now. All of his tests have been fantastic, and I will have a link to the other tests in the description. A big thanks again to them for emailing me and sharing their work. This laser test was conducted again at Kootenai Lake in south central BC, located here. The test was at a distance of 28.6 miles or 46 kilometers. At one point in the video, they bring the cameras down to just 6 inches off of the water. According to the globe model, with an observation height of 6 inches and a distance of 28.6 miles, 513 feet should be hidden behind the curvature of the Earth. The laser was at a height of approximately 27 feet, and so the laser should have been 486 feet below the horizon if the globe were real. 486 feet is huge and tall enough to hide this 486 foot tall building. That lake is definitely flat.
That's pretty interesting. And so like, here's what I would say to that. That's very fascinating. And I think that that's a really good, this is another reason I actually have a really high powered laser that I'm going to go find. I'm like looking for the biggest lake I can get to do this.
You're not going to find one that's almost 30 miles long. That's a long way.
It's pretty long. So like, I'm like, okay, but the reality is like that, if that's actually the curvature of the Earth, like that they're saying it is, maybe it's not that curvature, or B, like what, like there's so many variables. Like what if there's like a way that like light can warp after a certain point at a certain distance that we just don't understand? And that's one of the questions I want to answer, is because because things like that do prove that it's flat, in my opinion. Like that does kind of allude to the fact that, dude, it's got to be flat if that can even be a thing. And like if he can see the laser on 3 inches off the ground and still see it
He said
across
He said, well, I think it's interesting the way the video went. I think he said at one point so he's referencing another experiment by somebody else's, I guess, YouTube channel. And he said that they did have it at 6 inches above the lake. But I think when they showed the video, it was 27 feet above the lake. Either way, the curve should have obstructed the test.
Sure, but what if there's a way what if light, we just don't understand, bends at a certain point with temperatures and difference of variations? And I know that sounds like I'm making an excuse, but the reality is you can actually do an experiment right now yourself. And I watched somebody do an experiment where they put the camera on the ground at a really far distance and they turned on a heater, and you could see, and they zoomed in, and the heat waves moved across the ground, and there was like some toys at the other end. And when the heat wave came across, the heat hit the toys actually moved up, and it was like an illusion that happened in the camera. And that was just something you could do as an experiment on yourself. So I don't know, like, if distance and heat or how that affects light potentially, but I watched this happen in an experiment that you can do yourself. And so I don't claim to say that I know every direction of how that's happening, but it does allude to that it's flat. I just need to do some experimenting to determine if that's the case. Does that make sense?
Well, that's fair, but the real issue is that when you use their model, the globe model, with their curvature calculator, I mean, because some people say, oh, well, where are you guys getting these numbers from? It's like, this is from them. Like, this is from the people who say it's a globe. So makes their spherical Earth work in their model. So when you're talking about that much curvature, when he's talking about like you could hide like a 40-story building based on their own calculations. Now you're talking about light warping a lot, so I guess that's the thing. And I think that Dave was basically, this is what he was arguing, was saying that you could use all kinds of mental gymnastics to say how this could work, or it could just be that it's flat, because every time they do these kind of tests, it works out to be, it's like Occam's razor, right? The simplest explanation is usually the correct one. It works because it's flat. It's not because there's phantom light and heat and all kinds of different phenomena that cause it, because it's like that you're talking about a single laser that can be viewed almost 30 miles away. Like, that is crazy. Like, that is crazy if it's not flat. And I think that that's basically the main point of people like Dave Weiss pointing this out, is that we don't have to prove everything. You have to prove the curvature. Like, it's up to them. They're saying it's a ball because every bit of empirical evidence in just us being able to, like, people say, like, prove to me it's flat. It's like, go walk outside. It looks flat. It's like, they don't see any evidence of it being flat, but you're like, every day we wake up and we see evidence that it's motionless and flat.
Yeah.
So it's up to them to show that the curvature actually works. And then they say, hey, what about when the boat goes over the horizon? The boat comes back when you use a high-powered telescope or camera.
Which that also is very fascinating.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
When the boat comes back.
So those are the kind of things that if they ever use that as proof of the globe model, well, it should never work. You can't zoom in and find it if it went over the curve. And then they say, oh, well, the curve's too big to see, so therefore you have to be way up. But it's like, well, then why did you ever try to tell us that boats go over the curve?
Well, and again, we're relying on like our own vision, where we can only see half of a percent of the visible light spectrum, like as if we're all powerful and we can see everything and know everything, and our eyes function perfectly. Like, that makes sense. I mean, we can only see so far, but for me, there were a handful of things that solidified my belief in all of that, and one of them was all of the military training manuals. Like, you can still access the military training manuals, like for the Air Force, and when they talk about dropping missiles, and they specifically say to assume a flat Earth when it comes to calculating the distance between when they release their missiles and when the missiles connect. There's multiple. In fact, at one point in time, I had them in my link tree but there's multiple government documents that specifically say to assume a flat Earth model when it comes to calculating distances. And we're talking about like military precision.
Yeah, what
right?
about when I remember
That's
was
really
it
weird.
Eddie Bravo was on Rogan? I remember one time when they were kind of clowning on him, but he was talking about like a rail gun. They can shoot like 100 miles and it
Yeah, I
shoots
remember
just
seeing that.
straight.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, so if a rail gun shoots straight, it can shoot something at 100 miles distance. Well, that doesn't make any sense because otherwise it would go straight off into outer space.
And if the
speed it's
military
going.
had knowledge that was absolute and we needed that knowledge in the field, like for instance, like a sniper, right? The only reason they've got to calculate drop off because the velocity stops at some point. It can only go so far before it drops off.
Yeah,
and so
and then you have these globers trying to say that they have to account for the Coriolis effect, even though the planes don't.
There's two things that were kind of interesting. One thing that Dave Weiss showed me that was very fascinating. But one thing is, I don't know if you know this, but planes, when they're flying east to west, they have to turn their plane every like so many thing that to turn kink the plane like a little bit to the right when they're going east to west, and then west to east they turn like 2 degrees every mile or something like that every mile that they go. I don't know if you know that. Do you know that?
Well, you know, it's funny. My dad was in the Navy, and he was telling me about how, like, when they go, like, if you look at like a map, you would think that they would just go straight across if they were going to go sail to Europe from here. They would leave Norfolk and they would just go straight across. But he was talking about how much they had to like calculate to bend. And of course, you told me it was because of currents, and I was like, or, you know, if you look at a map, it's like you're kind of going around because it's not just a straight shot. Because if you went straight, you would end up like in Africa.
That was the number one thing that changed everything for me was the flight paths. When you can literally go online and you can look at the flights that are currently available right now from one continent to another. And if you go and look at all of the flights that are available and you look at like some of these, like on a globe Earth, the pit stops that some of these flights make absolutely zero sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
No sense.
There's a lot. Yeah, I guess when it comes at the end of the day, like that's enough for me. Like when I see that kind of stuff, I see the empirical evidence. I see the people doing their actual experiments with showing that there's no curvature when there should be curvature. The Bible says that the earth is stationary. The earth says that the sun and the moon move. The sun said, the Bible says that there's a firmament. So when I see that's enough. It doesn't mean I can explain everything else the way the cosmos work. And I don't think that anybody else can either. I don't think that any of the prophets claim to know how everything worked. Now, if you get into Enoch, it gets into some weird stuff. But again, like Enoch seeing visions, like what is he actually seeing? It's kind of like saying, John saw this in the book of Revelation. So somebody's saying, well, it has to happen exactly like this. Well, I don't necessarily believe that. I think that some of the things that are described, it's like describing a dream. You're like there's got to be a little bit room for like, this could be distorted. This is what I saw. It's just like the same thing. I can tell you physical evidence. I can tell you a place that I've been. I say, this is what I saw. Now, with my own memory and recollection and my own perception, could I tell you something that was accurate that you could picture in your head to know exactly what I meant? We got to leave room for interpretations of things.
Here's the other thing that I think that Dave Weiss showed me that was probably the most interestingly compelling thing is that he flew a drone. After the sun set, he flew his drone way, 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 way up in the sky. Okay. And then he filmed the sun after it had already set. And so he flew it high up to where he could see it. Right. And then he watched the sun disappear and he sped it up, and the sun he kept it in view, but it didn't go down. It just went further, and then it stayed the same size, and then it just faded and disappeared. And so when he showed me that clip, I was like, that is fascinating. And now I have to try this experiment. When the sun goes down, I'm going to send my drone as high up as I can get and then film the sun and see if it just like dissipates. Because what's really interesting is that like that doesn't necessarily prove to flat Earth though. That what that does for me is it shows that it proves more that we're in a simulation. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at is that
it doesn't prove flat Earth, but it's less about proving flat Earth because it's like the perception that we have, everything is flat. That's why when you go up in an airplane,
but it proves simulation
looks
is what
flat.
I'm getting at.
That's why when they send these balloons up 75 miles up, it still looks flat. And everything looks flat. So what that experiment by Dave Weiss proves is that the sun is not going around the curve.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, so I think that's what it's kind of like that. The way that Dave is trying to kind of prove his point, he's poking holes in their model. So it's not necessarily to say that the flat earthers have a perfect model that works, because I think that there's some questions about it. But he's saying that the things that they claim to be facts are absolutely not facts. And that's why I said, just trust the Bible. Brian, let's move on. Let's why don't you show your video that you said, because you were pumping it up as fire.
This video is going to be it's going to be a little bit switch up, but I mean,
yeah, we're switching gears. It's good.
It's a picture of the Israeli flag with pride flags and then a weird little rainbow at the Dead Sea. And they write, quote, "Pride rises at the lowest place on earth, rainbow. This June, the Dead Sea becomes Pride Land. The biggest LGBTQ plus festival ever in the Middle East. 4 days of nonstop celebration, community, and connection. Israel celebrates its LGBTQ plus community bigger than ever." This ain't it. This is like the worst possible PR, the worst communications move I can possibly imagine. I know why they're doing it. I get why they're doing it. We'll get to it in a second. But just look at the optics. At the lowest place on Earth. Oh, you mean hell? You're talking about, sorry, in the sort of medieval cosmology, the ancient cosmology, the lowest place on Earth would be hell. At the lowest place on Earth, in the Dead Sea, in the place of the dead, we're going to have pride, which, again, I don't know if you guys are big readers, but I have read pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride is going to reign with all sorts of weird sex stuff that is called an abomination in the Bible. And by the way, just to bring it back to the literal and the historical, the literal place where this will be happening is most likely right in the historic sites of Sodom and Gomorrah, which are destroyed in the aforementioned Bible.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. The Middle East's largest LGBTQ festival is here. This year, Israel will host the Middle East's largest queer festival, Pride Land at the Dead Sea, from June 1st to June 4th. Organizers plan to transform the Judean desert into a 24/7 Pride City featuring 15 hotels, beach complexes, non-stop parties, and a central performance arena.
Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their error. Furthermore, just as they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, so God gave them over to a depraved mind, so that they do what ought not to be done.
There's this destruction layer is filled with human bone remains. Here's some ribs found in this area, burned pottery.
What could go wrong? They are having a pride festival in the area where Sodom and Gomorrah is, where there is still human remains on the ground. You can still go there and find it in this area. And like, bro, do you realize like how wicked and evil? Like, I don't even.
It's interesting. I want to say that. So the Bible gives warnings in certain areas. Do you know when Joshua and the Israelites crossed the Jordan River, the first city that they destroy was Jericho. And there was a prophecy over that city that said, whoever builds this city is going to do it at the cost of their firstborn. And later in the Bible, it talks about they rebuilt Jericho and it cost this guy 2 of his sons. So it's like, yeah, these guys.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, the thing is about it is this is where it gets really dicey between when people say, are these people the real Israelites? Are they descendants from Abraham? But the
If
truth
you
is,
don't know
like,
by
whether
now.
it wasn't just about being related to Abraham. I got to stress this over and over again. Abraham's grandsons were Jacob and Esau. So it wasn't just about being related to Abraham, because Esau clearly went a different direction and Jacob got the promise. So it was always about belief. So if you claim to be related to Abraham and you don't follow in the footsteps of Abraham, then it doesn't matter. And obviously, this is clearly the opposite. It's interesting that I saw this on X. So this fits perfectly what you're talking about. That it was the let me just show you. The Jewish Dems of the USA posted this. They ended up deleting it. Pride is a Jewish value. We won't back down from the fight from LGBTQ plus rights. We won't stop being clear in our values. Join us. Pride is a Jewish value. That's crazy, right?
Dude, it's all crazy, bro. Like, how can you not, like, Christians, wake the freak up, bro? Because, like, oh my gosh, if you're not sitting there going, yeah, Israel's evil, by now they're having like a freaking, like, they're trying to turn the Dead Sea into the Dead Sea. Let me repeat myself, where there's like still death and destruction near the place of Sodom and Gomorrah, is being turned into a Burning Man style festival for the gay. It's trying to be the gayest place in the world. They're trying to make it the gayest festival in the world, guys.
There's balls of sulfur that are still ingrained in the stone there, and my brother actually has some. Like he bought some and he's got them, but like you can see there's video footage of people going there, traveling there, and it shows them on camera, like they're looking at the walls and there are balls of sulfur ingrained, buried into the walls, and you can dig them out. It's
You
like
can light them
so
on fire.
obvious. Yeah, you can, and it's so obvious that like what Scripture says happened there actually happened there. All of the evidence is there.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting you bring up Burning Man, because you do kind of have to wonder about that. Like, is Burning Man set in the same desert location as it always is, or do they change?
Yep, same
It's
location.
the same, yeah, every year.
It'd be interesting to see what the history of that place is, because as we often talk about,
it's at a place called Black Rock. Okay, it's in near,
when we
Reno,
go out
Nevada, I think.
When we go out, every time I go out west, I love to go research meltology in all these national parks and do all these crazy hikes with super unusual rock formations. And to think that what it does seem like when God causes judgment on places, I do think that might be the origin of a lot of these deserts, is that God said nothing was ever going to grow here again, and I'm going to scorch this place. And then people are going to pass by and they're going to hiss and they're going to just be appalled by, like, what is this place? What was it once?
So
and
all the
then,
deserts are gay places?
probably the gayest places on earth.
The gayest places.
No, but I mean, like, well, who
Deserts
knows?
are gay. That's a new shirt.
There was corruption in these places, most likely. And, well, I mean, if there's any validity to our theories about these places being melted, we believe they're melted on the day of the Lord. So which places remain versus which places got totally annihilated? Maybe the most corrupt places, maybe the worst places got completely smoked. And that's why we just look by and see, oh, that's a really funny looking rock. Maybe it wasn't a rock. Maybe it was a building. Maybe it was a city. And then these people are going to go take part in, like, the exact kind of acts that got this place judged in the first place. And it does only make sense that you have these people who are obviously completely spirit of Antichrist, completely contrary to everything God's taught us. They're going to go revel in their sin in a place that God smoked with fire from heaven.
Bro, I kind of wanted to go in the Dead Sea once before. I will never touch that water ever.
The Dead Sea is like a place, isn't it, where like,
supposedly you can
can't
float
even
on
hardly,
it.
you
It's
can't, like the amount of salt in it. It's like so buoyant, like you basically can't even sink in it.
Yeah,
it's like minerally dense.
My parents have been there. They said that like you go in there and you try to stand in it and you can't. Like it kicks your feet up, like it forces you to float to the top because of how dense it is.
That's so weird. I want to show you one thing though. It's interesting that you brought up Michael Knowles, I learned something about Michael Knowles recently. So Michael Knowles being one of the podcasters over at the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro's outlet, and him and Matt Walsh, Catholic guys, and you think like, why are they working for Ben Shapiro? I mean, you would think that the way that it seems like the things that they say, they self-censor big time being on that network.
Surprised they let that go.
But check this out. Check this out. I just learned about Ben Shapiro. Have you ever heard of this, Brian? There's this place called the Shabbatai Society. This is over at Yale. It said the Shabbatai, formerly known as Eliezer Chai Society, is a global Jewish leadership society based out of Yale. Like other independent student societies at Yale, Shabbatai is not officially affiliated with the university. Shabbatai exclusive membership. It boasts a diverse group of Yale students, alumni, and current and former faculty. Time magazine has referred to Shabbatai as a modish club du jour and a campus secret society of a different stripe. And if you go down in here and you can look at notable members, Michael Knowles.
Wow.
Michael Knowles, political commentator, author, and media host.
Wow.
Yeah, Cory Booker, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Wait, Vivek Ramaswamy? So wait, that's the dude, that's
the guy
that was running for president.
As Republican in Ohio for governor.
Of course he is. And a Jewish, oh my gosh. Every time. Why every time?
Here's what like I don't understand why.
Why? But let's ask this question real quick. Why would a Catholic join a Jewish leadership society?
Because he's a liar. That's why.
Continue.
What are we gonna say, Aaron?
Hey, Aaron.
I don't understand what people don't understand. If you believe that what we see, like if you believe that the access that people have to what we see, what we hear, music, television, all of that kind of stuff is limited. If the access is limited, if we all believe that, and everyone believes that, then why in the world would anyone trust anything anyone says that's on that level? Anyone. Like, why do even we still fall for it sometimes and go, oh no, so-and-so seems to be right on. So-and-so seems to be. It's like, dude, they're not going to give access to someone to potentially influence the world against their agenda. They're never going to do it. And if anybody does speak against their agenda, even marginally, it's because they want them to, because they've got a plan, right? Like they've got a plan for it, because eventually they're going to end up lambasting those people or
controlled opposition. Michael Knowles says a lot of true things. And then there's a lot of things he does not say. It's kind of like a guy like him, the things that he does say that I probably don't disagree with him too often. But it's the things that he does not say is the things that make you question him. And it wasn't like I won't say that I wasn't surprised that he was in some kind of Jewish leadership club, because that's weird, because that's a little weird. But I'm not surprised that he's controlled. I mean, he works for Ben Shapiro. So, I mean, yeah, like obviously he's controlled by the guy who signs his paychecks. But yeah, absolutely. And let's switch gears. Let's talk about something else. And then I want to talk about maritime law, because we did tease that one week that we might talk a little bit more about that. And Brian's going to love this. But we haven't done any funny videos today. You want to do a funny video?
Go for it.
Only if it's dolls.
But you know what? We'll do 2 funny videos. I don't have a doll video, but I do have a funny kids toy video.
I got a funny video.
I want to
too.
talk about specifically now, how did anyone come up with the concept of cheese?
Wait, why pour it out? What if I f***ed with it? Did a bunch of weird experiments and bull to it? Let it sit out for days? No. Months? No. Years? I'll cut myself off from the world. They won't understand. They're not ready. I could try it with skim, whole, 2%. So many permutations, so many possible outcomes. What if I separated the chunky parts from the liquid parts and messed around with the temperature? Everybody knows that milk plus time equals gross. But what if you pushed past that? What if it gets good again? What if it gets better than milk? What if there's something past butter? But what? I feel like I'm reaching out in the darkness to grab something I can't see, but I'm afraid of what I'll find. Day 44. First cheese. It smells extremely weird and made me 3 times. My body isn't built to handle it. No one's is. The only logical thing to do is put it in every dish there is on Earth.
These are the kinds of things that make you wonder, right? Like the first time someone decided to find out what comes out of cows, right? Or goats. It's like,
there was a funny video I saw about that where they talk about the guy who drank all the milks from every different animal, and there was only like 2 that were somewhat okay, like goats and cows.
Yeah, dude. Like, who decided to take the hit for the very first time out of curiosity? It's crazy.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say this before Brian does. This is clearly came from the fallen angels. Because how would anyone know that? It's the question I've always had about drugs, is that you have how many different kinds of plants?
Well, they definitely came from fallen angel technology.
Like, how would anyone know? Like, I mean, how many times would you have to experiment with different kinds of leaves before you found one that got you out your mind?
I just think about metal. Metal definitely came from, like, that one is a wild one. How do we came up with the concept of making metal?
Mirrors?
Let's make a fire so hot, so hot that it starts to melt rock, and then we can separate it, and then we can create metal.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, of course, that does come straight from Enoch, is metallurgy came from
Fallen
Azazel.
angels.
So
Yeah.
that makes sense. But yeah, it's like the idea that
But cheese,
even the different amount of plants, I mean, because you're more likely to die from eating a certain plant than get high. Right? Like, you'd
Yeah.
find poison before you probably found anything that would make you feel fun.
yeah,
Right?
that's
So,
true.
so that'd be like, hey, give it to so-and-so. They'll try anything. Anything? Gonna sit out staring at the guy for a minute. Look at his eyes, they're glazed over. I think he's having a great time now. Let's all do that.
We've got a funny video that I think, well, I know you'll appreciate it, JT, since we're
So-
doing funny videos.
Wait, are we concluding that cheese came from the fallen angels? Is that what we're concluding here?
So unless you got another
what if the
possible
okay.
explanation.
What if you just what if they just had their milk and they didn't drink it all, and then they left it sit, and then they were they just kept letting it sit, and then they were they tried to milk as much milk as they could, and they made a big jar of it, and then it at the bottom of the jar started cheesing over, and they're like, dude, we can't just get rid of it. What can we do with it? And they just I don't want to.
Who's gonna eat that moldy stuff that got left out for a year?
Yeah, like
And then it
everybody
just
had
kept
that one
getting
kid
it,
at
and
the
they're
lunch table that you could mix together every bit of some kind of gross and give it to the one kid because he'll eat it. And they just said, I mean, imagine
cheese is pretty
somebody deciding to eat blue cheese for the first time.
Dude, that one's a tricky one. That blue cheese, totally fallen angels.
You could see how some of these things were discovered accidentally.
Yeah,
right.
I could say cheese.
Like leaving milk out, and let's just say some guy went on a journey, right? And he died
Yeah.
on his journey, and they went to go to his cabin or wherever he lived.
You're
and
what is this?
Yeah, it had been 7, but still, someone had to see that cheesy, crusty, moldy stuff and go, because none of it smells good. I don't care what kind of cheese, the best kind of cheese you could possibly eat. None of it smells good. None of it, dude. None of it
Some
smells
cheese
good.
kind of smells okay.
No, bro. There is no cheese that smells good unless it's cheesecake.
I've never
There is
smelled
no,
cheese, really.
there
I
is
never thought
no
about it.
cheese that smells good,
Limburger
bro.
cheese.
None of it smells good, man. All of it smells funky. Every single kind.
I don't eat any colored cheese other than the white cheese. I think I might be cheese racist. because
Yeah, that's racist.
I'm cheese racist, but that's because the other cheeses are so.
I'm not
gross.
racist, but I wouldn't eat cheese if it was black.
No, I wouldn't eat black. I mean, I wouldn't eat blue cheese unless it's special.
Blue cheese is good though, but blue cheese is
sometimes
also
on
white.
Blue cheese.
I guess it's got little spots in it though.
Well, the yellow cheese is disgusting. I can't eat yellow cheese. That's so gross.
If you
So
get
gross.
Kraft slices, sure, but if you get
No.
the deli,
All
deli
yellow
cut
cheese.
American
What
cheese.
about
Ugh. Cheddar?
a Mexican blend?
It's gross. Oh, Mexican
on.
blend cheese. Ugh.
Yeah, you're
Gross.
definitely a racist.
I'm cheese racist only. Sorry.
All right, so since we're staying on the funny note here, we'll definitely have to change the music on this, but you're gonna love this, JT.
If Lord of the Rings was made today, Yeah, not so bad.
Why did they make the dwarf a black guy? That's totally wrong. The dwarf should have been a black guy.
No,
I mean,
they made the
they
dwarf
pretty much
Jack
have already
Black.
done that. That's the Rings of Power. I mean, that's pretty much how the Rings of Power is.
That's what somebody in the comment section said.
Yeah,
They're
they've
like,
already
so
done
the Rings
that.
of Power.
Yeah, there's a black elf. There's black hobbits. Trying to think what else.
Which I don't think is. I mean, I don't think it's that crazy. You know what I mean? Like casting some black elves is. I mean, I'm not trying to like put you on the spot here, but I mean, it would make sense that elves weren't only white. Come on.
Well, the
I think
Elohims in history
I don't think
were
that
always
I wouldn't have a
deemed as
problem
white.
with it if they come out with a white Black Panther. It's no different. It's no different
wouldn't
if
have
you
a
said
problem with
if you
it.
set a movie in Wakanda and you have a few gingers in there.
Dude, not just white people, but gingers. That's a whole. Not just white people, but straight up redheaded gingers, dude.
Because I'm not
so
racist, so I
crazy.
think that would be fine if they did that.
Oh,
But
my
yeah, I mean, it's
gosh.
the whole thing. Actually, that was funny because I did send you guys that that tweet that I saw on X the other day. This kind of fits. Zionists will look at you with a straight face and tell you that this guy is indigenous to the Middle East. We got Michael
Yeah.
Rappaport.
The guy's definitely not indigenous to the Middle East.
I'm sure he's allergic to olives too.
Oh yeah, most Jews are allergic to olives, and olives are all up in that region. So the Ashkenazi Jews have an allergic reaction to olives. If that doesn't tell you right there, like how much more
That's a little
stupid do you
suspicious.
have to be? Like, bro, like we're the olive tree, and we represent the olive branch, but we're actually we can't eat olives. Like, yeah, but we're the Israel of the Bible. Yeah, like, dude,
Yeah.
how stupid do you have to be? Like, come on.
That's
Like,
more
it's
ridiculous
so-
than black elves.
You guys want to make
Yes.
a transition to some a fascinating bit of history and some old map stuff?
Okay, yeah. Then we got to get to the maritime law.
Of America, Noah's Ark discovered on a map from the 1500s. So this is a map that was created in 1587 by an Italian nobleman and cartographer Urbano Monti. Now this map is about 10 feet wide and contains all kinds of mythical creatures and locations. But guess what was discovered on this map from 1587? This image right here, stating Noah's Ark in the modern day mountains of Ararat. And do you know where this location corresponds with? A spot about 18 kilometers away from Mount Ararat, where this location is, where everybody has been saying that Noah's Ark is, and a lot of people say that's just a geological formation. But that map corresponds with this location that was found after an earthquake. That corresponds with this ground-penetrating radar data that looks similar to a ship. And this ground-penetrating radar data showing chambers under the ground that animals might have been held in. And this ground-penetrating radar showing the stern of a ship. And of course, also the anchor stones that were found around this site, corresponding with this image that we all know from this original map in 1587, matching this spot here almost to the exact location. Now, why would it correspond almost perfectly, and why would modern science start putting this together that this is more than likely the location of Noah's Ark? And multiple teams from multiple nations have been there and are starting to test the area, and more than likely this is it. And not only is it more than likely it, but they've known about it since at least the 1500s. So just give this a W for the biblical crowd. That's all you have to do. It can still be a matter of science, but sometimes you just have to admit shit is what it is, and Noah's Ark is what it is.
So little did you know that that fascinating video was actually going to be the perfect transition to maritime law.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that. But yeah, that's this guy says the 1500s they knew that, but I'd say they've known that since the book of Genesis was written.
Oh, right, for sure.
Right,
But like to have a map that exists with that on there, though, is wild. I didn't know that.
I think it's a situation too where it wasn't that long ago that people believed the Bible.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. And that's why that they would have known it was there and they would have believed it. But it's only now that you have secular historians try to disprove the Bible all the time, and then they finding out that they're wrong. There's so many instances of that. We could do a whole show about that things that mainstream archaeologists and historians said, well, this is something that's not true that's in the Bible. And then they found out later archaeological evidence for this thing actually proving the Bible, and then them being dummies who don't trust the word of God. It's the same thing. Even I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Odyssey with Christopher Nolan, that mainstream historians were trying to say that Troy wasn't actually a real story. It was actually just a mythology. And then they found evidence for the city of Troy. So these mythologies aren't necessarily facts per se, but they came from a true story. And I think that's the only reason why that we still talk about these kind of stories today. And yeah, obviously the Bible's way more than that. The Bible is our most reliable historical book that we have. And it wasn't that long ago that everyone just believed that. And it's only now it's like, oh, wow, the Bible actually is true in some cases. It's true in all cases.
Well, and to that, wrapping back to what we were kind of talking about a little earlier too, and I didn't mention this, but there are people still alive who were taught in grade school that the earth was flat. So like the belief system has changed dramatically, like aggressively over the last 60, 70, 75-ish years. But yeah, maritime law, seeing as how we were just talking about the Ark.
Well, one more quick thing about you say about the earth being flat. I think that the funniest part about that is that now Christians today who believe in biblical cosmology, they use verses to say that the Bible's indicating that the earth is a flat plane with a dome above it. And you have other Christians who try to say, oh, it's not saying that. But then they cite historians and scientists who tell us up until very recently, everyone thought the earth was flat.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bible's not saying that, even though the Bible's way older than that.
Imagine being a born again believer who's going outside of the Bible to prove your belief that the earth isn't flat. Like, it's just so weird to me. Like, I would venture to say that people that don't believe those scriptures are talking about the shape of the earth. I mean, dude, what about that scripture is it in Job where it says the earth takes shape like clay under a seal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like a stamped seal. It's like you press it down flat.
Dude, that to me is, I mean, come on, dude. Like, have you ever melted wax? And I've done it before. I find that stuff fascinating. Like, it's not that hard to sort, but it's what's unreal to me is people that claim to be believers in Jesus that try to say that the scriptures are not supporting biblical cosmology. I can't wrap my brain around it. Now, I will say that there are a few verses that people use, and I think they take them slightly out of context. But there are other ones that are very specific, like that one in Job, where it's like, well, explain that then. Like,
yeah, it also says the firmament is like a cast iron mirror. It's not clouds. It's not just condensation
just
in atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
What say you, Brian?
I just see when what's his name shoots his rockets at the firmament, they definitely look like they're hitting water up there and it explodes.
Hitting something.
It looks like water to me. Like, I mean, like when you see it, it looks just like water. So it's like there's definitely seems like there is a water above us that is firm that you can't get through. Maybe it's ice, maybe it's frozen, maybe it's clear frozen ice water. I don't know.
Okay, maritime law. We should probably have left a little more room for this video. because I know Brian, this is going to be Brian's favorite video of this show.
You know, I heard once, if you want to hide something, you put it in a book. Man, isn't that malicious? Anyways, I want to talk to you today about law. You see, law is an acronym, and it stands for land, air, and water. See, I always do two things whenever I'm researching something. Number one is, where did it come from? And two, why is it that way? You got to question everything, right? So for this in particular, it goes all the way back to the British, and when the English had the largest navy, or one of the largest navies, and they basically ran the sea, right? So what they did is they took the English language, or the language of the sea, and they brought it back into commerce. And then they manipulated the courts and the banking's language into what we call Admiralty Maritime Law, or the law of the water, okay? So let's talk through some of the etymology and the why things are that way. All right, so we'll start with the fact that all ships are female. Have you ever wondered why that is? The captain will say, oh, she's a good ship, right? Well, now, stick with me here because this is absolutely freaking wild. Well, it's because a ship is a vessel. A vessel carries product, right? A ship delivers product, right? When a ship parks, it's called a berth. And where does it park? It parks at a dock. All right, still with me? Okay, this is why you're considered a product when you go to court, right? In the eyes of the court, because your mother was a vessel, aka the ship, that carried you, the product, to term. Then she delivered you at your berth to the dock, or the doctor, right? The dock tender. That's why when her water broke, she delivered you to shore through the berth canal. Whoa, okay. This is why when courts refer to you as a person, okay, this is why they group together person, place, and thing, because person is a noun, all right? But you are not a thing. You are a living, breathing soul. You are a verb. You are always breathing and growing and evolving, right? Notice the ing. You're living. You're a being. Okay, this is why when you are registered at birth, okay, because you're given a birth certificate because a ship has to register its product upon delivery to the dock through a manifest. Okay, so let's look at the money side of things. All right, and why money is water, right? What sits on either side of a river that directs the flow of the water? That's right, a river bank. Well, just like how banks direct the cash flow, right? Or the currency. This is why we talk about having liquidations or liquid assets, right? Money is water. That's why all commerce is handled using maritime admiralty law, the law of the water, okay? But you gotta realize that there is a different kind of laws. There's the law of the land and there's the law of the water, all right? So, I can go so much deeper on this. You can comment down below if you want to hear more, but like literally this goes on, and I love talking about this stuff because I'm a big geek. Love ya.
What do you think about that, Brian? What do you think about all that etymology?
That's not where the word law comes from. But I mean, land, air, water, to say that a word comes from an acronym is, first off, kind of silly to me because I've been studying etymology for a long time. Words don't come from acronyms very often. They come from like meaning to something. So it would have come from the word law, would have come from some other word like laqua or luqua or liqua, and it would have meant something like chains or control or something like that, I would imagine. This is me guesstimating because I've like looked into it, but it's fascinating. It's interesting, but I think these are word associations people are putting to stuff that are like diluting the reality of etymological connections personally. So like I'm kind of like that's weird. Like to me that's like against like a lot of what I look into. Like a lot of that is almost like what's the significance of it? Like words come from a purpose. So it's like, you know, they don't come from just some fictitious like, oh, everything's dictated by the land, air, sea law. Oh, everything in the world is dictated by this thing. And it's like, oh, the maritime law and blah, blah, blah. Oh, because things have to go to the dock and the doctor. Like, that's like, why do they have to go to the dock? Why do they have to go to the doctor? Why do you have to pay money for it? I am a contrarian, but like the reality is it's interesting, but it's not, there's no significance to why it has to go to a dock or doctor. Like that doesn't.
See, I disagree. So I think you got caught up on the law thing and that threw you off for the rest of it. And like, I agree. I don't think law comes from land, air, water, but the correlation with everything else.
It would be land, air, sea. If it wouldn't be land, air, water.
But the correlation with everything else is insane. And like if you look at actually like the laws of the court and the different things they do, he's just touching the surface. There are hundreds of things that are parallels to realities. And the reason I find that fascinating, because JT and I talked about this maybe 2 or 3 podcasts ago when you weren't on. The reason I find it fascinating is because of the Marine Kingdom. Because of the fact that, you know, obviously like when the flood happened and all of the Nephilim and all of these things were taken underwater, and
Yeah, but they're
these
taking them to the water
spirits-
under death. I don't think they have a kingdom. I don't like.
Well, no,
You know what
I
I mean?
mean,
Like,
the Marine
they
Kingdom
were
would be the
definitely-
idea that the ancients would have believed that the ocean, the deep, was associated with hell.
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
these Nephilim were killed in the flood. There's all these demonic spirits in the water. That's why they always show sea monsters and stuff in the ocean.
Well, that's what it says in Revelation. It says
synonymous
this-
with, the land of the dead, hell.
Well, it says the hell and Hades gave up the dead, and then it says the sea gave up the dead in Revelation. So it actually says that like there's dead
like they're
kept
like
in the sea.
but they're synonymous with the same thing.
But
Like
dude,
when
there's no-
when Jonah died in the book of Jonah, which a lot of people don't recognize that he dies when he goes into the belly of the fish. He goes down into the sea and he goes down into Sheol. That's what it says in the Bible.
Yeah.
And there's no question that these demons and the Nephilim spirits and all of these things, there's no question that they dwell in the ocean. There's no question that, so call it a kingdom, call it their territory, call it whatever you want. But there's no question that like all of that stuff, the abyss, all of it is connected to the water. Like
Sirens and all that stuff. All those
Right,
demonic
yes.
entities that are in the sea.
Sirens, Kraken, Leviathan, like all of these different things that are associated. And I think that one of the best points in case of this is when Jesus drives the demons into the pigs and the pigs run for the cliff. They go straight to the ocean. They just want to get back into the water.
Well, they do go to
It's-
kill themselves.
Right, but like why would they beg to be cast into the pigs? They wasn't just to kill themselves. It's because the spirits themselves wanted to make their way back to home. They wanted to make their way back to the water. It wasn't just because they were just dying to kill these pigs.
I think
they
there's
wanted
a connection to dying.
Yeah, well, the water is not going to kill the demons they're going to kill.
Yeah, but when a
pigs. It's gonna
being
kill
dies,
the vessels that
there's
they're in.
See, there's a difference. When a being dies, there's like a spiritual kind of thing that happens. And we know this like multiple times. That's why there's like significance and like rituals and stuff. And that's what they were doing at the pyramids. That's what they were killing people.
Right. So what happened to
at
the
pyramids.
demons when
So
the
there's-
pigs died?
There's some kind of spiritual thing at the moment of death that a demon can.
Yeah, but
get
it
that
also
has
says
something
when
from
you
it. I
cast,
don't
when
know what
Jesus
it
tells
is.
when you cast out a demon, it goes in dry places, and it's like seeking, it's seeking a place
Refuge.
that's not dry.
And it doesn't find rest in the dry places. It specifically says it can't. Doesn't it say it can't find
Yeah,
water?
yeah. It
Well,
says
and
that
you think about
can't
like
find
the
rest.
ultimate
Says they
sign
can't
that
find
God did
rest.
during the Exodus was parting the Red Sea.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just saying, like, there is plenty of evidence that these demons thrive in the water. And I think these demons, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree that there's something significant that happens when something is sacrificed physically. I don't disagree with that. But these demons wouldn't have done that if they knew it was going to be their demise. If
Of
they knew
course
that they
not.
were going to
No.
stop existing. I think it's because what they did might have given them some sort of boost in power by killing these pigs, but they wanted to get to the water because they wanted to get back home. They wanted to get back to their other homies.
Didn't it say they ran off a cliff into the water?
They
So
did,
it was
yeah.
like they just basically jumped off a cliff and committed suicide.
But look, to me though, they just wanted to get back to the water. They just needed and wanted to get back to the water. So there is something to all of that, and it would make sense that the people that are on Earth that are controlling everything would want to bind everybody by maritime law. Like, it makes complete sense because those instructions and that information had to have been given to them by the fallen. It had to have been. Like, it's got to be some kind of giant overarching spell. I'm just saying, I think you should really look into that, Brian, because I think that of the three of us, I think that you could uncover some really, really incredibly fascinating things that correlate. And I haven't seen anybody do a super deep dive into all of that stuff.
I've looked into quite a bit of it. I've actually, like, a lot of people have sent me videos relating to that and all the word associations. And so I have looked into it a little bit. But it was
I want
just
you to
like,
look into it a lot of bit.
okay,
Yeah,
I'll
well,
look
I
into it a
mean,
lot of
and
it.
also one of the greatest signs that Jesus did was walking on the water.
Yeah. I know
Right.
that. That's like declaring that he is above the surface, the spirit of the deep.
Yeah, well, I
Right.
mean, what happened in that situation too is it was right around the time that they were in the Sea of Galilee, and it was around the base of Mount Hermon. So where he was at was probably one of the most demonic areas in that land where all these giants were killed, and was literally like the origin of the giants would be Mount Hermon. So when he did that sign of walking on the water, I think that was declaring, that he had power over death when he did that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there was some component to that, and the power over the Nephilim as well, and the power of the spiritual realm.
And I think that's why they also thought he was a ghost, because I think that it wasn't unusual for people to see apparitions where they were at, because it was like literally like the land of demons where they were at.
Yeah.
But what do you think about all that word association, though, that especially with like the ships, birth, the women, and then you think about like the money stuff was like really trippy, is that
fluidity,
liquidation of cash, banks, channels, currency.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's interesting, and I've heard it before, but that is pretty interesting. The word currency and then bank and that stuff. That's very. But I'm trying to like what's the associative purpose of it? Understanding it is what I'm kind of like trying to find, and maybe I just don't see it yet.
This is what I think the association is. I think all of that verbiage was given by the fallen to the people that control things in this world, to use that verbiage to bind us.
Interesting.
I think they're word spells.
Okay, I could kind of see that. I could sort of look at it from that perspective. That's interesting.
Especially at court, right? Especially when you've got to go to court to something, and you've got to go, because again, look at all of the people in the court systems and the judges and stuff that are all part of a secret society that are set against people that aren't members, right? And so you look at the control levers and the control mechanisms. It feels to me like it's all one giant word spell that's keeping people bound.
Yeah, I got another video, and Aaron, you might have to edit this a little bit for time's sake, because I think it's a longer video, but this guy gets into deeper about some of the word association, especially when you get into court stuff.
So today I want to go through a little more about how we languish in our language and why we can never get undone from the mess we're in, because the words are basically Phoenician, Latin, and Greek amalgamations with some British thrown in there. But it's all, a lot of our language is meant to deceive or have secret hidden meanings. So let's get into it. Now, when you go into court, we're based on water. Our legal system is under Roman Latin law, and we're considered to be at sea. We're fictitious characters, we're straw men, but it's all based on water. And this goes way back to the 13 and 1400s, when Pope Boniface VIII said he's going to be the vicar for Christ and created the first SQV Unum Sanctum Trusts and put us on ships. And that's why we always have in our Admiralty Court, we're on our citizenship, we're on our leadership, we're on our relationship, we're on our ownership, friendship, hardship, partnership, membership, internship, warship, sportsmanship, sponsorship, relationship, craftsmanship, companionship. Why are we always on a ship? When we go into court, we go in through the docket, and there we find the bailiff who's going to bail us out. So everything's based on water, including our banking system. This is why we have a currency, and we have liquid assets, and we have deposit slips, and we have a docket. We have cash flow, we have frozen assets and liquid assets. So everything is based on water when we're in the court system, and we're, just like I said, straw man and fictitious characters. Now this is Jordan Maxwell, or I forget his other name. Judges have a Masonic hammer or gavel which they hit to declare the word of law. The idea of law comes from the biblical 10 stone commandments, and so it is said that you, quote, break the law. You're breaking the commandment. Judges always sit on 3-tier high platform representing the first 3 blue degrees of Freemasonry. The same tri-tier platform is found at Congress and the altar in most Catholic and Protestant churches, 3 tiers high. That's also why you give someone the 3rd degree related to the 3rd degree of Masonry, where the initiate is asked a series of probing questions he must answer correctly in order to become a Master Mason, which is the 3rd degree. There's usually a gate around the church altars, just as there are gates and swinging doors in every courtroom. called the docket. The congregation at church all stand up to recognize the priest, just as all rise when the judge walks in. Judge takes a recess because he is in court playing a game of 10 commandments, with lawyers who play the dialectic protagonist-antagonist game, bouncing the advantage into each other's courts. In the courtroom, witnesses must place their hand on the Old New Testament before giving their testimony, just as priest's sermon is often called testimony, also known as mon from moon in testimony, and sermon. Also, to testify used to be you had to grab your testicles in the old, and that's why women could not testify, because they could not grab their testicles to assert themselves in court. Also, the black robes are Satan robes, and the gavel is the phallic gavel of a penis that he's ruling with. As a witness swears in, one hand is placed on the Bible while the other is held up. In church, where parishioners feel the Holy Spirit offering during psalm, they will hold one or both hands up to praise the Lord. Quote, then when you get further into Saturn, you begin to understand his color is black, and he was god of one of the many different Semitic tribes or groups, and one of his symbols was a square. Then you get into the square black mortarboard that the university or high school students wear when they graduate. When you graduate from high school, you come out of the processionally with a black robe, which is black for Saffron, the god of Hebrews, requiring that you wear the square mortarboard on the top of your head. As I said, this is Saturnian in principle. The square mortarboards are, of course, used by the Freemasons for their plaster, so that is why you wear a square mortarboard when you graduate, ultimately becoming an alumni. It all has to do with Freemasonry. It all has to do with control the education in this country. Freemasonry is owned by the Jesuits. He doesn't go into there. Jordan Maxwell doesn't go to Jesuit, or recently has. Square mortarboard on the head is usually black, the color of Saturn, one of the ancient Hebrew gods. This is the same black used on the robe the judge wears when he is going to throw you in jail, because black represents Saturn. Saturn is the old Semitic god. This is why churches and courtrooms look the same today, because when you go into churches, you sit out here with the poor folks in the chairs, out here in the pews, but you cannot go in onto the lifted higher elevation. You can't go inside the gate.
So much information to like try to process all of it. The first half, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Like the ship, the relationship, and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of ships, huh?
Yeah, the ships was just very fascinating. But after he did the ship stuff, it started to get a little fuzzy for me, and I was like, I don't know. Like I believe like maybe about, maybe like a quarter of what he said is to me like interesting. I think some of it is just like, I don't know what it is.
The thing that I thought was really interesting, the connection with the way that a courtroom kind of resembles like a temple situation and like a church situation.
Totally.
Like why does a judge wear black robes?
Yeah.
It does make sense too. It's like, yeah, that they come out of this little door behind the bench, right? Almost like that they're in a temple where only the holy people, only the priests can enter into there.
It is
and
a
they come
ritual,
out
dude.
to judge between us.
It's fully ritualistic.
Totally ritual. It's
Brian,
completely...
hit refresh again. Sometimes you're like, is he frozen to you, Aaron?
No.
Well, don't worry about it then. I don't know.
You were frozen for me just a few seconds ago. That's why I refreshed.
Riverside's saying we're too close.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I mean, that does seem like a lot. The priest connection makes a lot of sense. It is interesting, too. He's talking about, it's funny, my daughter's about to graduate. And yeah, you wear these, where did that hat come from if it's not from what he's saying? That you wear this square on your head.
Yeah,
it's almost like the
compass.
people with the little hats wearing the cubes on their heads.
Yeah, it is. It's the square and compass. It's the degree. That's why you get a degree when you go to college. It's the degrees of masonry. And degrees is also like the compass of direction. Like what degree are you headed? Like the square and compass. So that's where all that wordage comes from, which just to me just points to the fact that it's basically, I just took it as like basically all these things are designed by a bunch of occultists. And so it's all basically like bullcrap. That's my thought.
Well, it's the situation too where we like the law should actually be pretty simple, but they make these lawyers learn all these Latin terms. So like you need a lawyer because you can't read all this legalese. And so it's like, if you're not in this fraternity, well, then you can't defend yourself properly for most people.
Unless you walk in and say tubal cane.
Well, that is funny that we brought that up, that Joe Rogan, when he played that character on news radio, he's having that, conversation with his boss who's going to court. And he's saying there's like this code word that if you say this, they'll let you off. And it was tubal cane. And
Wait,
tubal
who said
cane
that?
being
Who
associated,
said
we
that?
said last week, with metallurgy.
Joe Rogan on a TV show.
Yeah, news radio.
He said what? He said that?
Yeah, he said that he told his boss that if you say this code word, then and you do this handshake, I think, then they'll let you get off without going to jail. And he said it, and it worked.
He said he did it, and it worked.
In the show.
In the show. Like
he was an actor. It was a scripted TV show before he had his podcast.
Interesting.
So why would it be tubal cane? It says it's tubal cane because probably he was one of the, I want to say even in Gary Wayne's book, he talks about.
He was the original.
Yeah, he was one of the first people to start kind of the evil Enoch.
Yeah.
And then you have the good Enoch. And then so the evil Enoch's line, Cain's line, starts the secret societies. And these are the people who post-flood are hiding, or they're collecting the secret knowledge of the antediluvian world. And that's the stuff that gets passed down through all these secret societies today.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I would love for you to do a deep dive on the maritime law stuff, Brian. I have a feeling if anybody could figure out all of the nuances and intricacies of it, it's you.
I'll look into it more. See what patterns I recognize.
Well, I mean, again, all these words having like the ship
That
and
is
all these
interesting.
things that's not a coincidence.
No, obviously not. I mean, it's
The
there's definitely
cash
something
words
significant.
that are all associated with water,
Cash
in the
flow.
sea. That's, again, it's too much. The banks.
The bank one is an interesting one because it's like, where would that word bank come from? It's like, what? Why did it called that word? Why is bank of a river the same associated word? So it's like, there's something weird there for sure. That one is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
That's your
etymology of
homework,
it.
Brian. Brian, you're going to have to come up with a lit video about that. I know you can do it. We believe in you.
For sure.
Okay, I did promise one more funny video, and then we're going to end. This video is... This is probably why the boomers are the way that they are. Maybe.
It's a swing wing, it's a wing wing, a brand new Transgram fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing.
Get Swing Wing, made by Transagram, where the fun comes from. It's a swing wing. It's a what?
Dude, that reminds me of the Skip It. Remember
Yeah.
Skip
But yeah,
It, Skip
where you
It.
swung it around your leg and then you hopped it with the other foot.
But the very best thing of all, there's a counter on this ball.
That's it. You remember the song.
Oh,
Shoot.
dude, of course I do, man. That's
The
crazy.
very best thing of all. There's a counter
That's
on
the
the
best
ball.
thing, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But tell me
I
that
remember that.
that weird helmet game did not lead people to believe that the moon landing was real.
Or brain damage. Or
I'm saying it's both. I'm saying there's a direct correlation between
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
them swinging their heads like that and eventually believing
Step one,
NASA.
how do we get them to swing their heads into a silly, confused state so that we
How
can
do
hit
we-
them with all the propaganda?
How do we
it.
get them
Have
to
to be-
believe that the Earth is actually moving and not standing still? They're gonna do this.
Dude, you know what that reminds
You know what?
me
They're
of?
right. They're right. I think we are moving about 1,000 miles an hour.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like the same things they do to us. Like, I don't know, here in California, they removed our ability to have grocery bags. And then they're now putting out like, and in England, my friend was just telling me that like they gave them trash cans. So like you have like 5 trash cans in England for all of your trash and you have to separate it and clean it. You can't just like throw certain things in each trash can.
And they all go in the same landfill.
Yeah. But you have to separate them, and it's like, and they have to be cleaned and separated. You can't just throw it away. Just like same thing with like when we like have to like our grocery bag. We can't have grocery bags in California, guys. It's so stupid. You cannot have. You literally have to
paper?
bring your own. No, they'll have paper, and then they'll have to sell them to you. Like, and then it's like there's some that somewhat get away with not selling it to you, but like they got rid of the plastic grocery bag, but every product comes in plastic. Every
like literally every product
comes in plastic. But yeah, but the bag itself is so inconvenient to not have the grocery bag. It adds extra stress and weight and like thought process and energy on your brain, just like all the trash cans that are legally now you have to separate stuff. It's adding extra like pressure and tension and using up brain activity so that you can't think clearly to think about stuff or have enough energy to process more things. Same thing with that little spinning thing. It's causing more brain like tension and pressure so that you don't even want to think about it. Imagine doing that for like 10 minutes and being like trying to do math problems afterwards. You're going to be
I think if you use the swing wing, you would start to think everything makes sense that they tell us to do.
Use the swing wing.
Yeah, even the skipper, when they're done at the very end, he goes, do hop hop. Who does that make sense to, man? Causes them confusion. That's why they wanted you to do it. No, to your point though, Brian, go in and it's like you can go in and buy 4 2-liters and then have them put it in a paper bag because they won't give you a plastic bag to hold your plastic 2 liters. Make it make sense.
Yeah, because the turtles will not choke on all the other plastic that's in the grocery store.
No, only bags.
And straws. Well, anyways, guys, on that note, I think we're going to end it here today. But I appreciate you guys watching. And if you guys want to watch these episodes early and uncensored, please consider supporting this podcast over on Patreon. Also, if you guys are looking for coaching, for social media, podcasting, whatever, check out the Echoes of Truth Network. If you want to support this podcast in other ways, please check out Modern Roots Life, the sponsor of this podcast. Get yourself healthy, support this podcast, and a good Christian-owned company. Also, you guys can get some merch. This is not it, but I've got some merch. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to Dustin Mann, who got me this customized JT Files JC hat. These are not for sale, sorry, but maybe we'll get them in the store. So anyways, guys, regardless, if you can't support this podcast any other way than just watching, listening, sharing, subscribing, I appreciate you guys watching, and I love you guys. See you guys next time.
JT's mixtape, now a show about history, faith, and truth, with the sound and the conversation we've never heard before. JT's mixtape, now there's a podcast that has exactly what we've been looking for all of us who will not compromise. Listen, JT created mixtape for us. Woo!